So we do know that works. So hello, welcome to Cow Crates. You can call me Felice or Felicity. And today we are going to be exploring how I basically modded a joystick to a Game Boy Color D-pad. Okay, so we have a fake game installed and I'm going to go try to move it. So if it's left, it does move, right? Okay. And up and down. Okay, so we do know that works. So that's an amazing demo. The best I could do. Right now, I want to explain what are we going to do and how did we figure this out. The community doesn't have a lot of videos kind of explaining this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it myself. The closest I could find, because this current joystick that I'm using does not have a part number, but what I did find from AliExpress is the part number J17B10K. That joystick is kind of similar to what we have here. Unfortunately, it does have a difference with the stem being green. Now, in the insides, I'm not sure, but it does have a 6-pin output. I'm not sure. So, here we go. Here we go. I do have my notes here, and it is an anatomy of the joystick. So, we're going to explore what is inside of the joystick. The first thing that we have is a top cover. So, this is the top cover. You will see that there is something inside. I'm not sure if you could see that, but here. And that is the spring to kind of center that joystick back in. So you will not take that off, okay? So this is how it looks like when it's assembled. And I did not put the back cover here. Okay, we have the y-axis and the x-axis. So we have that here. And then we have the microchip, which is this one, and we have the bottom cover. Now, you could see that this microchip does have 6 pins for input or output, I'm not really sure. But anyway, there we go. So, in the pins, we do have an output pin. So here is the outputs. And the middle one is actually a wiper pin. These things right now that we have, once we take it off from your joystick, okay, it kind of just flattened the tips here. Once we take it off, we could see the circuitry. So I'm not like experienced, or I'm not really fond of the volts and stuff like that. I'm just going to use common sense. If this will focus, hold on, I'm just going to get my, there we go. This is going to be looking like that. This is your volts, or something that will power that in, and this is basically your direction that goes there. It kind of curves around that area. And now if you could see, the volts or the ground or the electricity is kind of parallel to this area. Don't mind the scratch, I did that. Now that we kind of figured that out, this is the one of the axes. We're just gonna try to put that there and kind of figure that out, see? So basically what we're doing is this is dragging direction. However, we're going to be inputting this to a D-pad like what we have here. How are we gonna modify a circuit? We're gonna do that by scraping away some conductive material. Where do you scrape away conductive material? I'm gonna go zoom in real quick so you could see. I turned it back, so this is the black area, this is the outer area. As you can see, there's this. There's like a middle area right there. I'm gonna come closer to you. There's a middle area, and you want to hit this gold area between these black bars. Technically, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get your craft knife or an X-Acto knife and just delicately scrape this away in an outward motion, okay? You don't want to go inside, because once you start scraping away from the inside, you're gonna probably mess up the ground pin, which you do not want to do, because you're not gonna have power if you go left or right. So what we want to do is just scrape away in an outward motion, and you get the point. Once you do that, just scrape that away. Once you do that, it's going to have a broken connection. So technically, this will have more control. This is a resting area, as you could see. Resting area, right. Resting area, left. Same premise with up and down. Resting area, down. Resting area, up. So that's how it's supposed to work. And once you kind of figure that out, that worked for me, okay? So I'm not really sure if it will work for you, but it did work for me in 2 different joysticks. Once you got that going, you just want to do is you want to assemble your joystick like so. And we're just gonna go a la Martha Stewart and have something prepared already. The next thing that you want to figure out is, where do you solder? That's a very good question, and I didn't know the first time around, okay? So I'm just gonna explain my process of how I figured that out. The first thing, if you could see, it's very obvious, but I tried to solder in the buttons themselves. It did not work, unfortunately. And then I soldered onto the test points, okay? All of them are soldered into the test points. They worked. Unfortunately, I pulled one test point out, okay? And what happened was, when I pulled that out, I lost connection with one direction, obviously. But I didn't want to solder in somewhere here. I do know that there are button connections up here, because this is the main board and this is basically the direction board. I don't want to mess this up. So I kind of scraped away protective material to expose some of the brass right there above the main button, and it worked. So yeah, that worked for me. And knowing this information, we know that the middle pin is ground. Figuring out ground is very easy, because we do have a pin 32 nearby labeled G and D. So that's where you want your ground to be placed. So to kind of relook about the steps I took, we figured out the tracing, we knew where to solder, and for people asking, do you need a resistor? It works. So if it works without a resistor, I don't need one. So you could use magnet wire, and we figured out where ground is. So you might be asking me, what size of wire are you using currently? I'm using an AWG30. You could also use magnet wire if you wish to, because as you can see, AWG30 does need some finessing to go about, because it's going to be a little bit, you know, springy, and that springiness could actually pull out a solder pad. Now that we have a joystick, I want to talk about the substitutions that we could do, or like dupes, duplicates, something like that. What could we use if this particular model isn't available in your region? So I found this, right? Any 6-pin joystick is fine. Now you might be wondering, can I use my PSP joystick? Now the answer is no. Please do not murder your PSP joystick. This is a PSP joystick. Yeah, I know. So this is the circuit board. As you can see, it only has four inputs, and this might be a little bit more complicated than this because obviously it just has four. It probably might be 4 directions, up, down, left, right, but then I really can't say how am I going to wire this circuit board. So definitely, if you want to have a replacement, substitute, duplicate, etc., I would suggest getting a 6-pin joystick. Okay, getting that out of the way here. Explain this duplicate. I'm just gonna open it for you so you could see what it's like. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this aside so you could see it better. So this is the circuit board, and you just have to get your hobby knife and open these locks up. Once you get it opened, you will see your traces. Now, the traces are very, very similar to what we have here. So we have a bottom trace and an upper trace. So the only difference with this, it's thicker and it is pretty hard to scrape up the conductive material because it's very down there. You're wondering, does this have the same thing? Yes, it does. I'm just gonna zoom in real quick. Okay, there. See? There's your gold little area, and then there are 2 boxes right there, and that is where you want to take off your conductive material like before. It's basically the same thing. The X and Y axes are a bit different, but same thing. As you can see, I'm just gonna show one to you a little bit closer. It does have 2 prongs, and it works exactly the same. Definitely works as a substitute for your green joystick. Now, what I want to note is that this is a bit more hefty. I won't say hefty, I mean, they're fairly light. However, she thick, like with 3 C's. I mean, come on. Comparing size thickness, it is very noticeable when it comes to thickness, especially when you take off the back cover of this. This is pretty thick. So once you put it to your Game Boy, you might have to shave off a bit of your front shell. You might just want to take that in consideration because that's going to be a bit more tedious to do. Okay, I came across some hurdles while putting the joystick in and just having direction and controlling them as well. So I found that there are some cases that I have to explain to you that might cause your joystick to go haywire and not have control like you would. First thing I want to tell you is that that these pins should be separated and just really placed in a direction opposite to one another so it doesn't touch, because once this wire touches here, you're going to have some ghost movement. Like, I'm just gonna get my hobby knife and put this to here. I'm not moving it. I'm literally not moving it. And then make that connection. See? So make sure they don't touch, because if they do, you're gonna get this. And it's just gonna walk endlessly. So you don't want to have your wires touching. I'm not a pro with soldering, as you can see with my solder job, definitely not. But I'm just giving tips because I don't want other people to kind of go through the frustration I did. Make sure you have your wires separate. And another thing is, don't take away too much protective material off your wire. For example, just take away or strip away that much or less. You don't want to have an overly exposed wire because it could lead to more problems in the future when it comes to joysticks, okay? Just want an ample amount of exposed wire connected to your joystick and connected to the solder points. So, another thing, what if you pull solder points? Like I said earlier, I just scraped away some protective covering here above the button and it works. So that is something that you might want to consider. Another thing I should note is do not over scrape, okay? Because once you over scrape, you're gonna lose connection. So if you are still having some ghost movement without wires touching, without having any static or any wire problem, and you think it's internal, please take it out and try to see where you scraped and if it's correct. If you want to enlarge the scraped area, do it in moderation, okay? You don't want to do it all in one go because once you do it all in one go, you can't put that back. So just scrape moderately, try and test, trial and error, and if that still doesn't work, try another joystick because I did kind of have a large percentage of trials and errors and a total of 6 or 7 dead joysticks because of my experiments. So another thing that people might ask, is there a definitive position for up, down, left, and right in the 6-pin joystick? And the answer is no. You do not need to define, or is there a specific pin for up? Is there a specific pin for down? No, there is none. So if you wire up, left, down, right, it will work, except it's gonna be jumbled. So whether this is up, down, whether this is left, right, it really doesn't matter. We're not done. Okay, so I'm currently testing an SP. I'm sorry if you can't see anything because of the polarizer, but the point is I'm trying to see if the joystick will work on the SP if we have the same set of information that we did on the GBC. You see that? He is moving. That's how you make him move. And it looks like he can do diagonals, which is fun. So yeah, it's moving. So this is a GBA SP if you can't see. Currently that's link right there. So we're gonna test the joystick right now. Like, it does work. Hold on, there we go. So it does work. So basically we were successful with modding a GBA SP and a GBC with a joystick. All you need to do is find the test points and find a ground, common ground, and you'll be fine. So theoretically you could do this with a GBP dot matrix and other boards, but unfortunately I don't have the time to do that and test them out with every single one. So if you do have the time and you do have the resources of that, please do message me. I definitely want to see that. And again, I just want to say thank you to everyone in the community because it's such a nice community to be in, to be honest with you. I just want to give back because not a lot of people tend to share their knowledge, especially in complex mods. So hopefully this helps someone, and just remember, progress is progress. Till next time, bye!